So I'm joined by one of the smartest guys I know on technology, the guy I turn to when I just don't even understand it. I can't make myself understand it. Jake Ward. He's the host of the podcast, The Rip Current. He's the author of the book, The Loop, How AI is Creating a World Without Choices and How to Fight Back. Jake, that's a lot, and I actually have to tell our viewer we've hardly scratched the surface. But there's a larger thing here, and that is some of the things that the federal government is using are things that we have allowed to happen. We've allowed the government either greater access or the way we deal with our information on our phones. We've allowed some of this to happen.
I think that's absolutely right, Ali. I mean, we live in a country where it has been absolutely normalized to hand over the kind of information about ourselves that at one time would have been the dream of a CIA officer or an NSA officer, right? I mean, something like a thermostat in your house that connects to Wi-Fi, has a motion sensor in front of it, and as a result can track, your comings and goings, much less these listening devices that people buy from Amazon. I won't name them because there's so many of your viewers that have them. I'll accidentally set them off if I say the brand name, right? That kind of purchase has been so normalized in this country in exchange for the conveniences that come with it, that we forget that eventually the kind of thing that you are describing is made possible for a surveillance state as it forms around us. As you mentioned, when an agency like ICE doesn't have the judicial permission it requires, it can simply go to the private market and buy this stuff from commercial data brokers. The fact that we have made that all possible through the normalization of private surveillance for money is pretty extraordinary.
And it's a whole different segment we can have about how people can keep themselves safe in their digital world. But given what I've just told our viewers about, what stands out to you about the technology that the government is using right now?
Well, what's so amazing, right, is I think back, you and I have known each other a long time, and once upon a time we were covering the original Ukraine protests, right, yep, in the snow as Russian agitators are coming in, and that situation was coming to a head back in 2014. I was looking back at reporting that I did at that time, and there were it reports at that time of protesters discovering that their phones would suddenly beep and say, you have been recorded in a database as an agitator. And at that time, drones were also beginning to move around the crowd and catching faces. And back in 2014, right, we just thought that was such a sort of chilling thing. To think that we are now 12 years on from that, the kind of incredibly sophisticated technology that has become normalized, and the fact that it is not just happening in Ukraine, it is not just happening in Hong Kong, it is happening in Minnesota, right? That we are in a world now where this stuff is being deployed actively on American citizens. I mean, one thing that I have to say is, based on everything we have learned about this stuff, it's no wonder these guys wear masks, right? It is the clearest sign that they understand what the technological array that they have at their disposal makes possible when you are unmasked in public these days. These guys are using systems like, the Clearview system, which you and I have reported on in the past, yep, a commercially available system that is a universal facial recognition system. It scrapes images off of Facebook and anywhere else you might have it and creates a universal place for law enforcement agents to do this stuff. So, the array of invasive technologies is one thing, but the other thing that really stands out to me here, Ali, is just how little regulation and oversight there actually is. The only real regulation that exists over so much of this stuff, especially around AI and facial recognition, is a kind of self-reported determination that something is either quote unquote high impact or not. Whether you are using it as your primary way of making a determination that someone is to be pursued by law enforcement, or whether you are using human discretion. And it's entirely up to the agencies to determine whether or not they are relying heavily on this technology or using actual human investigation. And to my mind, what's so sort of crazy about that is that what we've seen time and again is that as these technologies get into the working patterns of law enforcement, they become so second nature for these agencies. We've seen time and again protesters grabbed entirely on the basis of a facial recognition system, or in many cases misidentified entirely on the basis of a facial recognition system. And these are law enforcement agencies that are not taking the time to actually then double check whether they've got the right guy. They just go grab whatever this technology tells them to grab. And as these systems are more and more systematizing and automating the decision-making process, it takes what is already a very chilling agency mission and makes it an even more robotic and inhumane kind of pursuit strategy that could ensnare anybody, honestly, Ali.
By the way, we know that a lot of people who are getting arrested are people of color. I was fascinated by these inaccuracies that change depending on whether you're a person of color or you're white.
That's absolutely right. We back in 2018 talked to the very first man ever misidentified by police and arrested on that basis, a guy named Robert Williams in Detroit, Michigan. And he was, this poor guy grabbed off of his porch by people who'd accused him of jewelry, stealing jewelry. He had a rock solid alibi, no reason to be there, and yet was, detained for, I believe, overnight. We're seeing this time and again. And again, it's what we see with technological use in the surveillance and law enforcement world is that it really erodes human judgment. At a time when we are normalizing some very inhumane behavior anyway, it is taking the humanity out of the process to an extent that I think is really, it's roboticizing law enforcement that is already on a fairly robotic and inhumane mission.